What's up and welcome back. Today we're getting off the workbench and onto the frame. Alright, so today's goal is to get that motor off the workbench and back sitting in the frame and getting everything connected back together and maybe hopefully getting that thing running today. Then after all that, we can finally move on to the next big thing I'm going to do it. But first, let's get that motor in the frame. So in order to get the motor back in the frame, you are going to have to pull out this pin for the swing arm, because that's one of the places where this engine actually mounts, is right through here. So you're going to have to jack up the swing arm and kind of so it balances, and just pull that pin out, then you'll be ready to put it in. One thing I did the previous day was just give this frame a nice power washing, because it was all sorts of dirty from the last time I rode this thing. It's always nice to have a nice clean working area. So yeah, I just washed this thing so it's all clear of dirt and it'll look nice. So I actually just threw it on my bike stand, and another thing you have to disconnect is either the top or bottom, actually probably both, is just completely get rid of the rear shock so you have a lot more room to install the carb and work around the motor. Alright, with all that out of the way, you can go ahead and grab the motor and drop her in. Alright, I finally got the motor sitting in the right position. It takes a lot of wiggling around, but it will finally settle where it wants to be. Then at that point you can throw in, there's a mounting bolt here, one under here, and the one that goes through the swing arm. So after you got all those motor mounts out, now you can go ahead and put the top of the shock back on. When putting all these mounting bolts in, it's a good idea to leave them all loose. That way you can still wiggle the motor to get the other bolts threaded through, and then you can lock down everything. Alright, the next thing we can start working on is getting our top end on, which is the cylinder head, and along with timing all the gears and timing chain. So the first thing we need to do that is find our gasket. Alright, this is the gasket for the lower end. Start slipping it through, and there is the bottom gasket. On the lower part of the cylinder, there is two dowel pins. There'll be one sitting here and one here. I'm guessing the other one is still on my cylinder. So I'm going to take it off the cylinder and put it on this stud. That other dowel pin actually ended up going on this side. So on this side, you should have two dowel pins. Alright, now the next thing to do is put on the cylinder. This will be the way you'll drop on the cylinder. This is where your cam chain tensioner is. So I think this actually has to come out and it'll drop down through the cylinder. This right here will be the hardest part, is getting the piston itself to go through the cylinder because of the rings. Alright, I got the cylinder on, and now I'll take this guide back in and drop that through. Yeah, I think this is the only bolt that kind of holds it in temporarily. Then once the cylinder head is on, it'll all compress it down. So the next thing you do is to find the cylinder head gasket and put on the cylinder head. So the gasket I got is an MLS gasket or a multi-layer steel. It has 3 layers. So you just got to find the right orientation it goes in. And there is the gasket. So now we can take the cylinder head. This is the intake, so of course it'll go this side. Make sure it's all clear of all the surfaces are clear of debris. Gonna have to come through the top here. There we go. So I would just then grab something to keep this chain from falling down. So I'll just set a wrench there for now. Probably want to just tap this a little bit or make sure it's seated all the way down. There are 4 nuts, 2 on either side. We'll go ahead and install those. So this is where those 4 nuts and washers go. There's 2 in here, and there's 2 right there. And what I went ahead and did was I just evenly kind of torqued, kind of going a crisscross pattern. I just torqued them down until they're nice and snug. What I also did was put these 2 bolts in and the one down there, and I tightened those up too. So what we can start doing now is do the cam and time the cam with the chain. So first what we can install is the rocker for the exhaust valves and this pin. This pin is going to slide in on the other side of the cylinder head. There's a little port over here. And there are a bunch of holes where bolts will fit through. So you got to make sure those line up and make sure you thread it through the rocker arm. So that is the rocker arm installed. You can see those where those 2 holes are for those bolts, and that is where that pin will slide through. Next thing we can put in is the cam. So as you can see, I got the camshaft in, and I'm not the best person to explain how you time this, but I can give you a rough idea. So there are 2 degree marks on the cam itself. You can see one there and one there, and that's how you want it timed, is to be perfectly kind of level with the top of this cylinder head. Then down here you can see there's marks as well. There's one in the flywheel right there, as you can see, and there's a little one on this cover. So that's how you want this camshaft to be. It is really tedious. You will be way off, or you'll be spot on, kind of like how I got it. Or you could be a tooth off, so you have to take the chain off, spin the cam either one direction, but that's really how the whole process of trying to time this cam. So once you are happy with where your camshaft is at, we can now put in the keepers for the camshaft itself, and they are labeled right side and left side, and it shows where the intake side is. So you can just drop those down, and there are little keepers that will keep the cam from sliding in one direction. So that is what it should look like when you finish putting in the cam retainers. Again, this one's marked left, that one's marked right, and the intake side, just even torque across both of them. And now is also a good time to put your spark plug in if you haven't. So now what you can do is throw on the valve cover gasket and the valve cover. Alright, once you get the valve cover on nice and tight and even, you can throw on the gasket for the flywheel cover and the cover itself. Make sure the dowels are lined up and tap her on, and then you can go around and put in your bolts. Moving on to the clutch side, you can now put on your clutch cover and your water pump. So I got the clutch cover and the water pump on, and that's basically it. That's about everything. Then you just gotta connect your carburetor, your exhaust, and I got all my coolant hoses all on. I mean, except for this lower one, but you get the idea. Then, yeah, it's almost ready to ride. Make sure you connect your kickstart, your shifter, your carburetor, all your cables, and your motor should be ready to go. If not, then just go back through these videos and notice if you've done anything wrong. But yeah, that's how you rebuild a CRF250. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope all these videos help you out a lot. I had a fun time making them, and a lot of you requested to do it, so I finally did it. So all I got left is connect all the other stuff, and I'll probably wash this thing again because my motor is still pretty dirty. Then also in the next video, I got something special coming, so stay tuned. I'll see you guys later.